Chapter 20. Devon had made arrangements with his friend, the groom for the wedding we were using as our cover, Baker, to meet for a late lunch. We arrived at the restaurant early and got a table. We were still looking over the menus when Baker arrived. Devon spotted him as he spoke to the hostess and waved him over. The man approaching us was big, at least 6 feet tall, and bulky in a way that made it obvious he had put some time into his body. His broad smile spread across his tanned face, and his blonde hair was cut military short. The short cut, combined with the pale color, made him look almost bald. Devon stood as the other man reached the table and shook his hand, pulling him into one of those one-armed hugs men do sometimes. I sat and watched the two greet each other. "Hey man. So glad you could make it," the newcomer said. "Me too. I didn't think I could for a while, but things changed," Devon replied. "How's the leg?" his friend asked. "Getting better. The recovery's been slow, but it's coming along." "Think you'll ever re-enlist?" "Nah." Devon shook his head. "I wouldn't have left if I'd been given the choice, but I'm not willing to leave what I have now to go back." "What could be better?" The two men were still standing beside the table chatting. Devon turned back to the table. "She is. Baker, this is Nickie." He held out his hand to me. "Nickie, this is Baker." We exchanged greetings and Baker continued, asking again. "So you've got a girl, why would that keep you from re-enlisting?" "It's not," Devon said. "My leg's keeping me from re-enlisting, but if that ever gets good enough I could re-enlist, I don't think I would, because I like what we're building." He took my hand and held it. "There are other factors, things that have changed at home, but Nickie's the biggest part of it. I have a hard time being away from her for even a day, much less weeks or months for training or a deployment." Baker shook his head, not really understanding. "Okay man. I don't get it, but I'll take your word for it." He picked up his menu. "Have you ordered yet?" "Not yet, we've only been here a few minutes, we were still trying to decide." "What's good?" Devon said. "It's all good. If you're into seafood, Seattle has some of the best." I turned my attention back to the menu and tried to make up my mind. We lingered at the table after we finished eating, having a few more drinks while we visited. Baker and Devon reminiscing about old times while I listened and asked questions. It was good to see Devon spend time with a friend, someone other than my family, someone who he had known during the 10 years he'd been gone. I enjoyed seeing a glimpse of who Devon had been while he was away. We said goodbye to Baker, promising to see him at the wedding and reception, and walked back to the hotel. We had no plans for the evening and took our time with the pleasant trip. There was a breeze coming off the bay which chilled the air, but this far inland it wasn't too cool yet. I was sure that once the sun went down, the temperature would plummet. "So what's the plan for tomorrow?" I asked, my arm wrapped around his waist as we strolled down the sidewalk. "We've got the tour with Donovan in the morning. It's a 4-hour tour of the Sound. It should give you plenty of time to see if you can do your thing, but still get us back in plenty of time to get ready for the wedding tomorrow night." He was careful not to say anything in public that might arouse suspicion. I nodded slowly, thinking for a moment. Either way, I'll have time to call Bill before the wedding and let him know how things went. I nodded faster. "That works." We walked a few more blocks in silence, enjoying the scenery and just being together. "How about we go back to the room, get naked, climb into that jacuzzi tub and see where it goes from there?" Devon's eyes darkened and I knew the suggestion turned him on. "Sounds great." His voice rough. "Then, maybe if you're nice, I'll show you the secret I packed." I teased. "A secret, huh?" "If you're good." I smiled secretively and we continued down the sidewalk a little faster. It seemed Devon was a little eager to see what I'd brought.